Huge voter apathy.
And that's bad for a growing democracy.
You know what? For 20%.
If we are to keep the status quo, then we are heading for disaster.
I think one can add that we increasingly seeing, of course, breakdown of rule of law. This lawlessness, of course, means the lack of respect for our institutions that actually are supposed to ensure law and order.
Okay.
The police.
Okay, let me cut you short there, Dr. Bainomugisha. Let's hear from someone from the Electoral Commission, Mr. Paul Bukenya, acting spokesman of the EC in Jinja. Welcome to Spectrum, Paul. Yeah, what's happening? Give us your characteristics of the Yes, you are. Talk to us about the election. Paul, can you talk to us about the election in Jinja today?
Hello.
Hello, Paul.
Yes, please, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Can you tell us about how the election went today?
Well, we've had the election, the by-election for Member of Parliament, and we have concluded the first part, which is the polling. We've closed polling, and at the extent, and the results have started coming in. So we're going through the final process of tallying and then declaring the winner. That's what I would say. Basically, the election has been conducted, the first part, and concluded well, and now we're going to the last phase of it.
How was the turnout?
It's not possible to authoritatively talk about the turnout without putting everything together, which is what we do in the process of tallying. So at this moment, the material started coming in, and we're going to look at how different stations have performed, and then we'll be able to say the turn-up, how it went, who turned up, whether high turn-up or low turn-up or average or something. We'll give it a description, put percentages to it after putting together the different figures from each polling station, 51 polling stations.
Well, very well, that's for the statisticians and for the record. But talk to us about your observations. You must have gone around a few polling stations. Did people show up in big numbers, or are they only trickling in?
Certainly, I didn't go to all polling stations.
Well, a few maybe.
There were some stations that I was able to visit where there was a turnout which was, you could say, average, and then others registering high. And some, by the time you are there, still has what one would call a low turnout, which is voters are 700 and 200. It's 1 p.m. Someone will think that it's not yet gained. And this is a town, this is a municipality. So it's best to comment about that as we go along, because the process has started. The boxes are here. I'm at the tally center, and that will get a very good picture. By-elections generally are not just a very high turnout as general elections. So I don't know whether the trend will be different in a city setting like Jinja.
All right, and what time do you expect the results to come in?
The results have started coming in, like I've told you. Some stations some officers are already here. The cars are being offloaded, and the process of tallying results will be commencing soon. Probably we will be starting in the next few minutes, and these are 51 polling stations. If we get all of them here within this hour, so that they are all here by 8 o'clock, we probably will need an hour to conclude this process.
So by 9 p.m. people will know who's the MP elect in that place?
I don't want to speculate at that, but considering that these are 51 polling stations,
they're not many,
and that they're all within reach, you know, these are distances of 15 minutes and 20, maybe the biggest with an island, which could possibly take us maybe 45 minutes or something like that. But the impression is that we'll finish the tallying process very, very soon.
All right, but some people say that this is a franchise. There are other polling stations, and they were told you died a long time ago. How can you vote?
I have not heard you on that, please. Come again.
Some people were told they could not vote because officially they died. Well, the news showed that they died and they had been removed from the voters' register. They were disenfranchised.
Sure, we do have register-related problems which come up on polling day, and in Jinja there has been no exception. We've had register-related complaints. Our complaints desk has been on alert to address them. Yes, we have a problem where people do not attend the update exercises or the display exercise, and then their details, either they transfer or they leave area and they are removed from the register. But I can tell you that we published the official list of persons who are deleted from the register, and those were 366. And if I recall well, around 150 were dead, were reported dead by their fellow residents in the areas, the villages, during the update and the cleaning up of the register. The Electoral Commission has a fair system of verifying such information. The law provides for a tribunal which is appointed by the magistrate. That was done, and the tribunals looked at the recommendations to confirm whether a person who has been reported dead is actually dead, and we effected the recommendations of the tribunal. But for avoidance of doubt, we carried the recommendations up to the complaints desk. Today we had that information, which we got from the local people themselves, because they are involved in cleaning the register. So I think if someone turns up and says, I'm alive and I had been reported dead, that poses questions. But the process is such that when someone is reported dead, it's done by the local people who are neighbors, who are relatives or relations, and they recommend to remove from the register. But there are processes which are taken to verify such a claim, like I've shown you, and after that, the Electoral Commission does such a deletion. But today, at the complaints desk where we have been resolving issues, I've not seen a complaint of someone who has turned up alive and had been reported dead, although some register-related complaints were brought to attention.
How ready was the AC to conduct this election?
How
ready were you? Did it take you by surprise?
No, this election did not take us by surprise. We planned for it. We have a plan for by-elections. We have a budget for by-elections. We followed the process from the time the petition was lodged, and we went through the processes very well. If you notice this morning, all the materials were on time. I know that some polling stations did not start on time because they were not able to raise the mandatory 5 people who must be there before you open the boxes.
Yes.
That's not a problem on the part of the officers themselves. They are there with the material. They can't open a box until 5 registered voters are present.
Yes.
So I think on our part, the readiness was there. We delivered materials, and we worked on security arrangements. We worked on the polling officials to conduct the exercise, and now we have the tallying process.
All right.
I'm satisfied with the arrangements we made for this election.
All right, Paul, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Welcome, my brother.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Bainomugisha, what's your reading of this? Men were ready. The people who died actually died, and they couldn't show up to say they had been struck off the register. What's your reading?
Yeah, my reading is that the EC spokesperson has given us an indication that the EC was ready, but in spite of the readiness, we still see election violence. We still see complaints by the people about their names being deleted. But what do I take from this? If you get this and expound it on the national picture, get the national picture from the Jinja elections municipality, we increasingly see really a democratic reversal, because you see elections is a conflict, is a peaceful conflict management mechanism. It's because you see at election time people are competing. It's a conflict situation, and elections resolve that. Free and fair elections resolve that, and you can measure your power by how many people vote for you. But now, instead, the elections have become violent, and actually, because they have become violent, it means that each side that is more violent is likely actually to produce a winner. And so, what does that mean to our democratization process? You see, and I think this is a cause for worry. First, I think there is a lack of confidence in the whole electoral process by people, that the electoral process will produce a winner. So most people now go to elections prepared to rig, prepared to bribe, prepared to use malpractices in order to win. And I think that is what is worrying. The EC has prepared, the police, the security they have done, but you see the kind of elections meted out at all. It's like, it is like man in the state of nature, generalize the violence. I think that is a serious thing. Secondly, also lack of confidence in the EC. I think, of course, a lot of researches have been made, a lot of dialogues, a lot of probing and advocacy for the reform of the EC. We don't see anything coming from there.
Right.
Now, at the same time, look, what he was talking about, the electoral reforms. Really, we seriously need electoral reforms. If a person election has been nullified based on malpractices, based on the fact that he lacks qualifications, and then you bring back the same person, what has changed? And of course, in the case of Jinja, I think what the NRM must be carefully looking at is also imposing certain people or even from certain families on the people. And so that suffocation, that really, and there are many people who espouse maybe to the NRM ideology, but they are suffocated. Individual families have to be the ones supported, and I think this is also generating anger of people who think they could have been even better leaders than those who are being supported, and I think that's what has disorganized the whole electoral process in Jinja, and we have seen this pattern of violence in Jinja. It doesn't change even before the old man retired, Chive Jinja. We've seen all this violence,
a lot of violence,
and I think it's a very bad picture for the country, and something must be done. And what I'm proposing, of course, seriously to reflect, to sit back and reflect, and it's the role of the government to reflect, undertake serious electoral reforms, undertake serious civic education, respect the opposition, allow them that kind of space so that they can also do their part. And because of this kind of violence, even you can see other parties have disappeared.
Yes.
Other parties that actually cannot match the kind of violence have disappeared. So what you see in Jinja municipality is FDC, and where the other parties? I know nobody down there. Where is BP? Where is UPC?
All right. Okay, we'll talk about the reforms and some of the remedies that you would propose. But first of all, Celeste, what's your reading of this? You've heard what this man said.
I've heard from Paul, and I just wanted to interject, but I hope that he's listening in, because I'm stunned by his view of saying they've had elections conducted and they went on well. I do not understand what he means by going on well.
Well, they're not responsible for security.
They are not. No. And as far as the elections in Uganda are concerned, Electoral Commission has the mandate to call in police for security, and that one they cannot run away from it. And in fact, it is part of our reform agenda for electoral laws that police should, during election period, police should rather Electoral Commission should get in touch with police, consult, and have them in place, and get out the army kind of thing. But now, coming back to the point,
yes,
how do we talk of elections having gone on well when people are losing lives? When we are having people the tear gas on the real day of the voting itself.
Well, sure, it goes well. Maybe that's why it went well.
So is that the going on well we are talking about? We are having people who are being disenfranchised because of the register, which register has been in the commission for this number of years and time, and like you asked a very good question, were they prepared for it? They had ample time to clean up that constituent. For God's sake, that is a very small constituency. So now what are we talking about? This is not the going on well we are talking of. We are talking of a free and fair elections where people come to vote freely. We are talking. We came up with a proposal, a reform proposal, that if we could have the proposed national identity card register being synchronized with the national voter register, so that there is nothing like hide and seek. No, you died, oh, this happened. No, the same citizen identified as a citizen from Kabugube in Makerere is the same person who is a voter there. I mean, when we have all this information synchronized, then there is nothing like hiding. But now here they are fearing to come up with a synchronized system, and these are very clear proposals which only need the sanity of some people around to say, okay, look here guys, this is what we need, and we come up with a clean and fair election. But we cannot say somebody comes and fails to vote and you say the elections have gone on well. Not at all. Well, I think there is something we must address, and until the Electoral Commission comes up and stands, gets out of that pride and say, look, we need to also, they agree on the proposals because they are good for everybody. Electoral Commission is not something that is working in isolation. It is part of Uganda. The people there are Ugandans, and in fact, I love them. They have the enthusiasm to work, but they have some hindrance somewhere, which hindrance we need to address. And in this case, that is where I bring in the institution of Parliament. Are they letting us down?
We'll talk about
we must talk about it. We have to be clear. minded about it, they must address the issues as they are.
So is the EC incompetent or what? Is it, or are they compromised?
They are compromised, in my
we'll talk about that in
my opinion.
This is Spectrum listeners on Radio 1. We're going for a break. We'll be back. Please stay tuned.
Special fares to the US, London, China, and India, with extra baggage allowance on selected flights. To book your flight, contact your local travel agent or call us on 041-7800-900 or book online at QatarAirways.com/UG. Qatar Airways, world's 5-star airline. Terms and conditions apply.
Like a guy, we'll go back a bit. We knew John at the beginning, working for someone else, but he was different. He had vision, saw opportunities. He started working towards his goal, opened his own garage, and worked, learning the hard way. His reputation spread, trust, consistency, quality. So many people were coming to him from all parts. He made himself and his whole street prosper, and also help friends seeing potential in people and helping them on. But John never shouts about all his success. He's just who he is. Special. So here's to real like John, who make a difference. Who enjoy Now Special, the rich satisfying taste for the sauce. Now Special. You've earned it. Not for sale to persons under 18. Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90 is brought to you by Stanbic Bank.
Welcome back to Spectrum on Radio 1. Tonight, the quest for free and fair elections in Uganda. What lessons can we take from the Jinja by-election? Our guests tonight, Dr. Bainomugisha, Director, Research and Manager of the Peace and Democracy Program at ACODE, and Mr. Celestine Mugisha, Board Member at the FHRI, that's the Foundation for Human Rights Initiative. He's also Program Officer at the Citizen Elections Watch It. You'll be able to contribute to this discussion. You can call in or send a text message. Send it to 7197. That is Spectrum. Question, message, or comment, send it to 7197. We earlier heard from Mr. Paul Bukenya, acting spokesman of the Electoral Commission, giving us an update. He says the poll results will be ready around about 9 because this is an urban place, tarmac roads and so on, should ensure all the results are in for counting. Counting is supposed to have started a short while ago, or should be starting any time now. Dr. Bainomugisha, what can we do for the Electoral Commission to have a clean job talking about polls?
Yeah, the Electoral Commission, seriously, it's the work of this government. It's the work of the government, it's the work of the parliament, as my colleague had earlier hinted on. And of course, it's the general program, a democratization program for building democratic institutions. You see, when this government came into power in 1986, most of the democratic and political institutions had been destroyed. They were not there. Others were limping. And of course, we started on a journey to rebuild these institutions. Writing a new constitution that was promulgated in 1995 by Parliament. Of course, it was NRC, and then it became a real Parliament. Reviewed the army, the police, Parliament, and all these kinds of institutions. And of course, the Electoral Commission, the IGG, and now they are in place. But I think over time now, these institutions have not been either given space or they have been actually undermined to perform their constitution.
Undermined. You think the EC is being undermined? They are competent, but they're being undermined. I
think the EC sincerely, because you see, the EC has a history. You know, in 1996 we had a very clean election. Even now, Stephen Akabwai,
we are 96.
Yes,
and he was moved very, very quickly to the Revenue Authority.
He gave us the most the elections we have never had, and I thought that, you know, after that, of course, we needed to be improving and not going backwards. So since then, the Court of Elections, or election management, has been going backwards.
Yeah.
And of course, the appointment of Engineer Chugundu was highly contested. You know that it has been contested. You know, of course, the man organizes the 2001 elections, 2006 elections that were all controversial and ended up in the Supreme Court.
Yes.
And of course, with a lot of recommendations. So for me, really, the fact that actually Engineer Badu Chugundu is still still the chairman of the Electoral Commission, that the appointment of the commissioners is still, of course, one-sided, that there has not been serious reforms of the...
Well, but if you remove the man, if it's a compromise from outside, without, it's also be the same problem. Bring another man and disturb him.
No, you see, the appointment of the chairman and the commissioners, there have been proposals. First of all, this person should be at the level of a judge. High Court judge. He should be a person with impeccable record, but he should also be agreed upon by the political players, especially the political parties and civil society, and also the other commissioners. The appointment should also, these other actors should also have say, and they should also have security of tenure. They should.
Well, they have 7 years.
No, they have five. They are 5 years, and I think
which are
renewable. 5 years renewable, and which is also dangerous because it is also
it coincides
with the electoral cycle.
It should be longer.
They should be longer to give them that security, so that they are going to be independent. But when they are conducting elections,
right.
But at the same time, their appointment and disappointment should be protected, just like in the case of the judges,
right.
So that they have that confidence to execute their mandate without fear or favor. Because you see now, they can be disgraced by
the Electoral Commission should technically be elevated to the level of a court.
Not a court per se, but like we are saying,
a court system, if you like.
Well, but now the point is the impartiality, the independence. All the stakeholders involved need to be need to accept the Electoral Commission as an impartial body.
It's like a referee. It should be agreeable to all
That's very fine. Now, what does it call for therefore? It calls for involvement of the stakeholders in the process of appointment of this Electoral Commission.
Yeah.
And how does this go about? We are saying, let the stakeholders suggest names. Let there be a body.
FDC, saying the name of...
Yes, fine. FDCs. The Ugandans, they have competent... We're not saying that they send in an FDC. No, they have Ugandan names of people whom they feel can be competent commissioners and the chairperson. Then there be a body which can do kind of vetting, and after that, which is a Judicial Service Commission, by the way, we are proposing that, so that after that, then they send to the president a few names. They feel that that is the body, the Judicial Service Commission sends forward names that they feel these are competent persons. Now, their tenure, let it be
7 years, maybe
7 years, and also have that kind of protection, whereby it is not solely the president who will say because of the incompetence you are going. No, let us follow, like in the Constitution, what does it take to have a judge removed?
Yeah.
So it's not the president who does so. So if that can be put in place, then the person will execute his or her duties with that confidence of saying, yes, I have security of my...
You can say no to certain people.
Very good. So now, in that case, even the parties involved in the elections will definitely have confidence in the person.
Right.
There won't be anything like bias.
Right.
So because of that, it will give credence to our election.
Let's talk about Parliament. You mentioned earlier before we went for that.
Yes, Parliament is a key player in the whole of this. Because now, at this moment in time, we are saying, can Parliament can Parliament have these reforms early enough? Why do we have to wait?
What reforms? Say them.
We have quite a number of reforms. We have come up with about 8 reforms. If I could go through them very quickly, one of them is a very pertinent one is the provision or restoration of the 2 5-year term limits for the tenure of the office of the president.
Yes.
Because you know what it means. It has a lot to do with the safeguarding the citizens' aspirations.
Yes.
If they feel this president is not good for them, then they have hope that after this term we are for sure having somebody new.
Well, even now they can change it. You can vote him out.
Under this kind of manipulation, we cannot.
You think there's manipulation in our elections?
This is what we are looking at. I mean, this is why we are looking at the case study of Jinja East. We are talking of an independent, credible, and impartial electoral commission.
Yes.
This is exactly what we've been discussing. The other reform is a clean and accurate, credible national voter register. It's where we are saying, we are proposing, can we synchronize national voter register with the national identity?
But you can't afford the ID.
No. You should never be deceived for that. There's nothing we cannot afford for as long as the political will is there. And that's why I'm saying the parliament is at the center of it in this case.
You're saying that the political will is because
for as long as the reforms are not taken into account, then to me there is no political will. If there is political will, we would have these things in place.
Let me comment,
Dr. Bainomugisha.
Yes, let me just quickly comment on the presidential term limits. This is where Africa really, it's a very shameful thing in Africa. And I remember one journalist, a black American, writing in the Washington Post in 2000. He said, "Hopeless Africa." He wrote, yes. And that was the headline, "Hopeless Africa," where people butcher each other like animals. And he said, he went further to say, at least he's happy that his grandparents were sold off as slaves into America, and he's far away where he doesn't face this kind of brutality. You know, with the term limits are very important, because in Africa we have seen that a sitting president, it's not easy for a sitting president to lose elections, and therefore, because of that, it is important actually to tie them on 2-term limits, so that once they reach there, they cannot proceed. But look, in Senegal, what is
yes,
he was in a position and suffered like Semogere,
and he's 80 years old,
and he was at the forefront of the African peer mechanism at the time of its initiation.
And as we talk now, Dakar,
the chicken in the State House has a certain taste to it. People don't want to live.
It's a problem, and for that reason, and of course I wish him bad. I wish that the Senegalese can stop him from running. It is a shame.
He's an old man, 80 years old.
Yeah, but again, you see why? Because it's a major conflict management thing. At least you are sure that after 10 years, this person can go and you get another person. And so restating term limits in Uganda, I think, is a major cornerstone for peace and security as a country.
So just to go on with some of the very pertinent reforms we have put in place, or we are forwarding, we are requesting the parliament to take action on, is this other one of rationalization of representation of special interest groups in parliament based on the sustenance of affirmative action. Our recommendation is that through Article 78 of the Constitution, Clause 2 of the same Constitution, Parliament reviews its composition with a view of abolishing the representation of the UPDF and workers in Parliament. And if we are to have them, then why don't we have police? Why don't we have police? These are same Ugandans that are being protected by the same parliamentarians that are there. So this is kind of deprecation. It is, and if you could see what is happening.
But we don't switch it to women.
Let's look at it. Let's face it. What are they doing exactly?
Okay. I mean, you have women, you have disabled, you want all of them to be removed, youth.
Now we are saying that then we also, especially those kind of groups such as youth MPs and PWDs may be elected on the basis of universal suffrage, adult suffrage, and the elections conform with the rules and regulation of the Electoral Commission. Reason being that they are not denied in any way. And I
think we need to be very careful about that, and we must be mindful of the political history of this country, where we've come from. Of course, and you know, I was reading about Al-Mazri. The military remains a major threat to democracy in Africa, and we are grappling with how do we do with the military. I do agree with Mr. Mugisha when he says the military, because now we are a multi-party system, and so it makes our and you know the UPDF Act actually it's supposed to be a professional army and non-partisan, but you see in a non-partisan parliament, they become partisan. I know that the UPDF officers have been trying, but when it comes to the election, when it comes to voting on major controversial issues, they have voted for the executive. And of course, that has to do with history they have with the incumbent president. But I think moving this country forward, I think the military should come out, but also assure them that actually they will retire and come to politics. The other thing I have found out with the special interest groups is that most of them are perpetually grateful to President Museveni for having brought them here, and some of them now we have moved from affirmative action to patronage, and I think that can also water down the sanctity of their representation. Yeah. And so I think rather than proposing to completely do away with the special interest groups,
no, we are not saying they will do away. Yeah. We have them elected by adults.
Yeah, but let us do something there. I think we need to review it. You know, the Constitution provides for periodic review of 10 years.
Right.
And I think we need to review them with a non-partisan eye, with a view of deepening their contribution to democracy, rather than supporting a particular political party.
Let's hear from our listeners. This is Spectrum on Radio. On our number 0414-348-111, 0312-260-390, 0312-226-1390. Spectrum, hello? Yes, sir, your name? Good evening to you.
My name is Owere.
Yes. Owere.
I was actually very happy when the other gentleman was submitting, and his presentation was very good. But I was disappointed when he talked on the workers and he saying that yes, and the workers should be moved from parliament. I just want to remark to him that the countries which have succeeded, like China, have succeeded because of the respect for the workers, the army, and they have been in the forefront. If you see China, for example, workers are all in all committees, including parliament. Actually, the workers are the ones deputizing parliament. And because of that, because workers are the engine of development. Now, when you talk of removing workers, because maybe certain people are not working well in parliament, and with the UPDF, let me remind you, there have been military coups in this country. But since NRM came to power, because they are involved in the decision making, they also articulate in parliament and they are given their freedom. That's why we are still having this kind of sanity.
Okay, all right. There are no cause because the army is in parliament. Hello, Spectrum, hello?
Good evening.
Good evening, your name?
My name is Diplomat.
James.
I thank you for this very good program this evening. This recommending on the electoral going on right now to Jinja, really it is very, very unfair to the people of Uganda, because the movement candidate was ready to the association of the election because they didn't have the qualifications, the academic qualifications. Now, if the movement didn't have another candidate, or they are using what we call Obujozi, in the local language of Obujozi, Kujoga Bantu Uganda, the whole nation, they stood the same candidate. Now, at the end of the day, if this gentleman wins the elections again, the same will be verified because he will have replied to those who are going to win elections, because they can't win elections. And any competent judge in any court of law will definitely assign him because you don't have papers. I thank you this evening.
Spectrum, hello? Hello, your name?
Good evening.
Good evening to you, your name?
Yeah, Kizito is my name.
Yeah.
The question was, what lessons do we get as Ugandans from the Jinja municipality by-election? I think one of the lessons is that there is need to have a judicial system that has its own people at heart when it is carrying out its judicial function. There are many elections that have been nullified, and when a by-election is held, the very person who was disqualified by the court is returned. And a lot of money has been lost, a lot of time has been lost, and by the way, in the process, some people will even pull each other's neck because they think their candidate was unjustly removed from the office. There are many cases to report. I don't want to speculate what will happen in Jinja. But again, come to think about qualifications. What don't we have? You know, for somebody to sit somewhere and say you didn't go to school, even when one has hobbies, simply because a certain signature was not put, simply because something was not ratified, I think it is unfair to our judicial system. Lastly, somebody who is saying term limits, throwing out UPDF MPs and workers. We have a constitution, and this constitution was written by Ugandans. It was debated. I think it took us 5 years to have this constitution made. And somebody sits in a conference somewhere and he thinks these people who are representing us should be thrown out. I have one view. Let our constitution be given a taste of time.
Spectrum, hello.
Good evening, Edmond.
Good evening, your name?
I'm as usual.
Yes.
Thank you for hosting the guest. I want to salute them for their articulation. I also want to concur with the former RDC that term limits is not the solution. The only problem is that the opposition, they are not marking with the NRM, actually President Museveni. They are weak. And another issue, we should salute Ingenia Badiro. At least the 2 terms he has held the election. I think he has done a good job, and that's why you see there are some opposition MPs in the parliament. So we need just to help him and support him for God and my country.
Final caller tonight, Spectrum. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir, your name?
Everyone.
Yes, please.
My name is Jinja.
Yes.
I thank those gentlemen in the studios. One particular thing which I want to mention is the other day the chairman Electoral Commission was telling us that we are ready. We use the words of saying that maybe some voters were removed from the register is not there. But just now, about a few minutes ago, I was watching the TV. People were just crying out. Their names were removed. I'm about to see the whole, in fact, half of the country being just removed from the voters register. I thank you very much.
All right, let's get back to the studio. Dr. Bainomugisha.
Thank you very much. I want to respond very quickly to the callers. One of the callers said China is now developed because of the workers and the
army and the workers.
And the army and the workers. But of course, you must realize, you must know that China is not a democracy and therefore doesn't fit in this picture. Here in Uganda, we took a decision to establish a multi-party system of governance, and we are building a democracy. We are not like China. The whole question of China developing is another matter. China, you must realize, has actually adopted they have adopted market reforms, which is actually one of the tenets of democracy, and they are there, but still an open, still a closed system. And and China has many problems. You need to know that you people out here do not realize. I have had an opportunity to visit China as a visitor of the Chinese Communist Party, and I visited China. They have problems. They have a lot of poverty. The human rights are suppressed, and there is a lot of value when you see democracy unleashes people's potential and their human rights, and you are able to develop. So really, the question of the army and the workers really doesn't matter. And you know, in any case, Uganda, we are all workers. That's what we are talking about. Why give a special? I mean, who's not a worker? And I support his point when he says that we are all workers. The other point is about the constitution, Mr. Chigozi. With all due respect, this constitution, of course, was radically amended in 2005, which, of course, the amendment provided for removed the presidential term limits, and actually the 1995 constitution was radically changed. It's not the same constitution as was actually framed by the framers of our constitution. But the point is this is a democracy, and so any democratic constitution provides for amendment and for test. So 2005, now this is 2012. If you see any obstacle in the implementation of the constitution, take it out. It should provide for taking out in order to deepen democracy and unleash more freedoms to the people, and therefore unleash the development. So honestly, it is time to look at some of those challenges, the setbacks, the presidential term limits. Whether you like it or not, if you look at the preamble of our constitution that says recalling the political history of this country, characterized by violence. So the framers of the constitution decided to give this country a constitution that will address the political conflicts and set this country on a path of stability and peace, to protect the current generations and the future generations from the scourge of war. So if you have anything in the constitution that could lead this country to a path of political instability, then it is incumbent on our members of parliament and the government to continuously review the constitution and make sure that this constitution provides that stability that this country needs.
Celestine, I believe you'll also tackle James' question.
Yeah,
people come, you know, and people being disqualified and then saying, you mentioned it a little bit.
Yeah, before. This is exactly what we just mentioned, and you see, this is what I mentioned again in response to Paul from EC.
Yes,
people are watching on TV how others are crying, and then you come out for God's sake and say they think the elections has gone on well.
This is no problem.
It's a mockery. It's a mockery of democracy. So what are we talking about? My colleague here is put it clearly. I mean, if you make a choice, let's stand by the principle, the rules of the game. Uganda chose democracy as the way to go. So now, if we chose democracy as the way to go, can we have the tenets of democracy in place? As simple, as clear as that. So now, in that case, when we say we are a democracy, but then at the end of the day, the rules of the game are bent to one side, and then manipulations are here and left and right. What are we saying? We are actually exposing our
setting ourselves up for.
I mean, I don't know what to call it, but the whole world is out there to see.
Yes.
And again, like we mentioned, that election of 1996.
Yes.
The framers of the constitution, and later on that
the ACODE
poll and the parliament we had then were to some extent much more focused, and they had that unity of saying these are the issues burning. But now today, when we talk of this, people will become timid. Why? Probably they came in parliament through the same benefit of the manipulation. Right. So how would you roll out the rule? How would you straighten the rules that actually otherwise made you come to the place you are in? So that's the challenge we have today. That's the challenge, and that is why we are saying citizens at this point need to take charge of some of these things.
Let me give hope to the Ugandans about the current parliament. Yes. I think we have
they might give us term limits.
We have noble men and women in this parliament who actually
might restore term limits.
And not only term limits, but actually, perform the roles of parliament.
We have to
give that independence to parliament.
Thank you very much indeed. Dr. Bainomugisha, Director, Research and Manager of the Peace and Democracy Program at ACODE. Thank you for coming to Spectrum. Mr. Celestine Mugisha from the Citizen Election Watch It. Thank you for tuning in. I've been your host, Edmond, Kizito Spectrum. We'll be back tomorrow. Up next, though, is the news in English.
Thank you.
Fellow Ugandans, the United Nations has declared that acts